Morning everyone, Thursday the 27th of October, and we're back into it and everything's pretty much panning out as we expected yesterday, so no big surprises yet. Interesting now, we finally got the report out on the hydrovane issue with Damien, the brake, which was of extreme interest for us, and that's up now. And also 2026 GGR entries are open, so keep an eye out for that if you're that way inclined. The other thing we picked up yesterday, we checked in on the statistics for the tracker map, and it's quite interesting. We've got over 40,000 people have downloaded the app to follow it on mobile, and a hell of a lot more following it on PCs and other applications. We're way ahead of the game in terms of 2018. We had a few million tracking units during the last race, but we're climbing very rapidly to head towards that number already. So a lot of people following the tracker, so that's kind of cool. And what else is happening? So leaderboard, everything's pretty much as it was yesterday. Simon, Tapio, Abelish, Pat, Kirsten, Damien, and so it goes. So and daily averages are pretty good at the moment because they've all got the front end of the fleet have got breeze, with the back end they're getting quiet. So before we get into that, I just thought people are asking about weather all the time, so I just wanted to highlight some of the things. As you know, this is the windy situation that's giving us background weather, and it's pretty good. You've got all the various aspects. You want to see the temperature. This is air temperature, not sea temperature. You can follow the gradients down the bottom there and see what they're going through, because that'll start to get a lot cooler as we go. This is pressure, but it's in a graphic sense, so you've got to work the colour schemes, but I'll show you the isobars again on actual windy main site, which is quite interesting. If you want to know what clouds they've got, there it is. It's pretty much as you see it there. There's clouds, some are denser than others. When it's got the blue in it, there's a bit of rain in there as well, and you can actually look at that. If you hit to rain, you'll see there's the rain without the clouds. So there's a bit of rain coming in this little trough that's coming up behind them there, and you've got wave height there. You can see the various gradients. They're all pretty much sailing in quite slight seas, or not heavy, moderate. That's only a couple of meters, so it should be quite comfortable. And then this is the most interesting one, because they're starting to head towards it, which is the currents. So you can actually see quite graphically, this is the Agulhas current over here, which is a whole discussion in itself. Can work with you or dramatically work against you, and we'll discuss that a bit more when the fleet gets up there. So for now, again, it's a graphic indication, and you can get the speed of the current following the colours along the bottom of the tracker. And they're starting to get some following currents there. Kirsten's in some, they've just crossed over some, but over here you can see it gets very interesting when they head down, and that's another discussion. But what I wanted to just mention, if you're really into weather and you want to know, first of all, this is different, looks different straight away. This is actually today's real-time weather. It's the same as you're seeing on the tracker. I've just overlaid the pressure ridges so that you can actually see an isobaric sense of where the highs are and where the little lows are, coming around in a clockwise direction, and then the high here, going counterclockwise, so you can see how it all starts to work. And how they interact with each other, and that's going to be a big interplay there on what's going on with the two. So here, this main high's center of pressure is 1,025 hectopascals. The one down here is 1,020, so it's going to get sucked into this, and they'll join up because there's nothing in between stopping it, okay, except for this collision of the wind direction there. You'll see the area of blue where there's no wind, because when they collide, the air goes up and there's nothing down on the surface here. So you can follow all this, graph, as an animation, just clicking it through, and you'll start to see how they all interplay with each other. It's a really good way to work out the weather, what's going on, and just learn about the weather as well. But what some people don't realize here, this is the scale. Obviously, if you want to see the waves, very similar to our tracker, you just hit that and you get the waves. If you want to see the clouds, all the basic ones are there, very similar, rain, thunder, all that sort of stuff. You can get air quality as well, but there's a little one here that gives you more layers. Now on the side, this pops out and you've got huge amounts of information here. This caters for all sorts of different sports as well, whether you're a flyer, you want upper air, wind strength, direction. If you're a snowboarder, you can get all your snow details on land, and you get a huge amount of detailed data that you can just click on. Dust mass, you've even got radiation levels there as well, if there's any issues in the future. Let's hope there's not. Thermals, if you're a glider, you can work out where the thermals are. It's quite fun, and it's the best tool that you've got to work out your own weather as well. You can zoom in, of course, wherever you are, anywhere in the world. Zoom out, you can just take it to wherever you want, and then just start to magnify it again, and quite a lot of information there. So just remember, Windy's pretty cool, and it's all free. You can get an upgraded service with a subscription and stuff. They don't sponsor us, but we use it all the time. It's really cool. It's our number one weather platform. And that's interesting, I may not have showed you that, but let's just get rid of this and we'll go back to wind. One of the big differences here for wind information, especially when it gets to the Southern Ocean, you can pick a spot like this, and if you just give a double click there, you can get the wind strength. Okay, so in this little system here, little intense sort of bubble, you got 32 knots where that cursor is, and you can click and drag. So back here there's 26 knots. Over here there's only 9 knots, but as you get closer, you know what the colors mean. It's going to be a lot stronger, so you can drag that in. 35 knots, 35, 40, 44, 50. So you can, you'll see some stuff in the Southern Ocean where it gets 50, 60, but on these, this is the forecast wind. It's not the gusts, and in fact you can pick the gusts, which down here, I'll get to it after, but anyway, but generally what you do, you add 30%. So if you've got 40 knots there, you can easily add another 12, at least another 12 knots to that, so it's 52 knots, 55. So if there's forecast 40, you can say it's gusting to 55. And it's the same with the wave heights. If we go to wave heights in this area, you still get a measure. So here you've got 2.6. You can actually measure the wave heights, but again, this is forecast. So if you've got 3 meter seas there, you can say straight away it's 3 to 4 meters. They always pick it's not an average, but it's a height. This is what it should be at 3 meters, but peaks can be at least 30% more. So just remember that. And when you get to the gust ones, I forget where it is now. It's that long since I put it up there. But the other interesting one, you've got these really interesting graphics. I've got to scroll back a bit, but this is a 3D model. So there's the world. You can just roll it around. There's Antarctica, and there is that interplay with the upper atmosphere situations in Antarctica, which I'll talk about as we get into the Southern Ocean, is playing into the wind situation in the Southern Ocean all around here. It's basically pulling the stronger winds down towards the Antarctic. It's a funny interface there, how that works, but it might bode well for our guys, and it's probably going to be like that for the next 2 to 3 months. So let's hope that works out. But anyway, that's quite a bit of fun, that you can use your 3D model. Great for graphic presentations if you're doing screen capture and all that sort of stuff, whatever you're up to. So here's back to the wind again, and you can go back to a 2D model, which is the flat one, Mercator projection, which you'll all know about that, and I don't want to talk about navigation. Anyway, I've used up cheap as 8 minutes already. I better get back to the main game or you'll all get bored. Here we go. Okay, so back to wind. And what's happening here. So I'll get rid of this, bring it up a bit. We'll talk about the weather they're likely to expect in the next couple of days. We'll go with the tail enders because they're not going anywhere fast. And I'll get rid of my main track. I was just looking at this morning. Remember, you can change the tails, right? That's the one that I've got there now is actually the big one, it shows you everything that's happening here, the main track from start to finish. You can turn that into no track and just leave the boats, or you can actually have a short tail. This is just a short snail trail there, or you can go to their whole track. That should be a light and a whole track, sort of opaque, so you can, well, not opaque, but strong, so you can see what's going on. I usually leave it on a little track for now. So Arnaud, Ian's going nowhere. 0.4 knots, that's easy. Nord slowed right down, 1.5 knots, that's easy. And Elliot is slowing down, 4.8 knots, and Guy, 4.6 knots. So for them in the next day, it's going to be soft. Arnaud's got a bit more breeze. Ian will get sailing again and sail straight into very little wind. So they're not going to make big ground. Arnaud might pick up a bit here coming from the back. You can see what's going on. You're all getting very good on the weather then. These guys will be a little bit further down, so they've still got light winds. I'm into the 29th. That's 2 days ahead. 3 days. Still a lot of fluffy stuff, and in fact that's enough for the back end of the fleet. We'll go back to real time today and we'll see what's going to happen here. So everyone's got breeze. That's looking pretty good. And Simon's getting a bit, well, he's going to get a little bit less, but still making 6.5 knots. Tapio, Abelish and Pat are hanging in together. Abelish has crossed over, going on the other side now of Tapio. So Tapio's 7.1, okay. Abelish 7.4 and Pat 6.6. It's an interesting scenario because they've all got pretty much similar weather. So they're remembering Abelish is doing 7.4 and he's absolutely gained what I'd say substantially on Tapio in the last sort of couple of days. So Tapio's still doing good, 7.1, quite respectable. Pat 6.6, so you can see what's happening there. You know, Abelish is making his mark that he is actually sailing faster than both of these guys, and he's going to pass them. So Kirsten is interesting. She's got a bit more breeze than the others, and she's paid off. She's bearing away, keeping the wind more on the quarter rather than on the beam. And that could be two reasons. One is that she wants to make south. She's a local. She's done this leg across to Cape Town, I don't know how many times, maybe 20 times, and she knows she's still relatively high, so maybe that's part of her decision process. She's still pretty much on a beam to Cape Town, and she knows no matter what the weather's doing, you've got to get down here. You want to be down here, about there, and then you start thinking about coming up depending on what the last weather you've got. So, you know, I'm not sure what she's thinking, but she's looking good. She's going to be in a nice position, I think. For whatever reason she's doing it. Maybe she went to sleep and the wind vane took over. I got no idea, but she knows what she's doing. That's what I'm trying to get across. So we come forward a day, and wacko, big hole there. Now, where will Kirsten be? We're not sure. These guys will still be sailing up the back here. Damien's still sailing, all that sort of stuff. So, but Kirsten may get tricked into a hole there, and then we'll see what happens. So we come forward another day, and it gets very crazy, okay, and you can see it's all over. So I'll scale back here, and well, first of all, what wind they're going to have, they might be just the other side of this. They've got virtually no wind, but if there is wind here, they're going to be hard on because it's coming from the southeast, and that'll push them push them north, which they don't want to be. Kirsten's going to be down here. She's going to have breeze, and it'll be interesting to see if she goes on port tack or starboard. You know, she won't want to go north, I don't reckon, but anyway, we'll see. And guys at the back, Damien falls into a bit of a light patch. Same with Google be up. This is how many days? This is 2 days ahead. So 2 days, everyone's going to be about 300 miles ahead. So where's that? Let's see. Yeah, it's quite a way ahead, eh? So there's 300 miles. So Damien's going to be up in this area, and that means these guys are going to be over in this area. So they could be okay. Not headwinds, it's going to be coming across. They'll be tailwinds, you know. So Kirsten might be in a disadvantaged position then. It's a lot of guesswork going on here. But anyway, the main thing is to show you the challenges ahead. Go forward another day, and it changes again very rapidly. So they'll be up here. It could be headwinds. If we go for the big picture now, because you can see there's this area. This is this high that's come up and joined with this one and pushed it out all kind of crazy. But the thing to remember, what I was saying, this is the southeasterly. It's predominant wind at this time of the year, and how strong it blows dictates your final approach. So it gets kind of interesting. Come all the way through. And again, now this is where you want to be down here. You know, so you don't want to be up here. But it changes. So that's probably enough. We'll just have a look there again. Going to be very interesting approach. So and then it changes completely again. So that's about it. This is a big one this morning. Thanks for that. We've got Abelish's onboard footage coming up later today, and we'll see you again tomorrow.